All right, Justice, can you see okay?
Yes, I can see perfectly.
Perfect. All right, well, thank you everyone for joining us tonight. I know we've got still quite a few more people who are filing in, which is great. And anybody who is not able to attend either the full meeting or at all tonight, that's perfectly okay. As soon as we're done, I'm going to upload this to YouTube and make it immediately available to people. But it's absolutely helpful for you to be here in real time to get ahead of the game and get some of your questions answered. So let's go ahead and get started. We're all here because we are a part of the Legal Missouri 2022 campaign to legalize adult use marijuana in Missouri. Who is this training for? It is for everyone on our volunteer team, whether you are a volunteer petitioner, dispensary staff, or anyone else who is working to collect signatures for the campaign. So if you're a new volunteer, that's great. We are very glad to have you. If you're a returning or veteran volunteer, thank you very much for your help so far. So this is just a brief summary of what we're going to talk about today. Again, thank you all for volunteering to help give Missouri citizens access to adult use marijuana. Your dedication is absolutely crucial to our success. Nearly 3 years after Missourians voted with almost 67% support to legalize medical marijuana, our campaign wants to give voters the opportunity to legalize marijuana for adult use in 2022. A citizens ballot initiative was filed on August 27th by Legal Missouri 2022, a statewide coalition of grassroots activists, entrepreneurs, cannabis patients, and criminal justice reform advocates. Our goal is to provide a fresh start to tens of thousands of state residents whose criminal records would be wiped clean of low-level marijuana offenses. There is finally enough widespread support among our voters to regulate, tax, and legalize marijuana. And now is the time for Missouri to join the 19 other states to successfully regulated and taxed adult use marijuana, bringing millions in new funding for vital state services. We have just over 1 month remaining to collect the needed signatures to submit to the Secretary of State by May 8th. This is the hard deadline, everybody. So we do have to have all of these signatures notarized and turned in to the campaign offices before May 8th. That way we can get these submitted to the Secretary of State and in for counting. So there's nothing we can do about this deadline. Fortunately, we have a lot of great weather ahead of us in the next 4 or 5 weeks. We've had a growing coalition of supporters, so we're feeling very confident with where we are at with our signature count and very on track to meet our goal if we continue with this momentum. Residents of Missouri have the power to propose legislation as a constitutional amendment on the 2022 ballot by collecting enough valid signatures in at least 6 of Missouri's 8 congressional districts. We'll go more into those target districts a little later. If the signature threshold is reached, the measure goes on the ballot this year. If the ballot language receives more than 50% of yes votes, the measure becomes enshrined in the Missouri Constitution and is enacted. The outcome of the campaign will largely depend on the ability of volunteers and existing marijuana facilities to effectively gather approximately 100,000 of these signatures. And we are working with Fieldworks, which is our signature collection company, to collect the remaining portion of the needed signatures. And here is just one of the collages of all of our team out in the field collecting signatures at some of our events in the past few weeks: St. Patrick's Day, Mardi Gras. We're going to have a lot of upcoming events, not just on Tuesday, but the Cardinals home openers, baseball games across the state in Springfield and in Kansas City, concerts, festivals, the list goes on. But the biggest day is going to be Tuesday. And while we are all working hard on the ground at these events, we have over 160 businesses round the clock working to collect signatures all across the state. And actually, a portion of these locations are going to be home based for Tuesday. So over 20 of these signing locations located in St. Louis, St. Charles, KC, Springfield, Jeff City, Washington, the list goes on. There will be a location Pretty much anywhere that there is a high turnout election, we've got a petition hub close to there where you can get blank petitions, get your t-shirts, and at a lot of the locations, you can get a bunch of stickers as well. So we'll go into more into where those locations are later on. But first, we're going to talk about our initiative highlights and then get into the weeds a little bit with the specific policy components that our supporters are most excited to learn about. So our ballot language includes urgent and essential provisions such as automatic expungement for nonviolent cannabis offenses, home cultivation, expansion of the current medical marijuana program, and crucial protections for employees, tenants, parents, patients, those on probation and parole, and those in need of state and federal assistance. Some supporters will be interested to learn about some of these historic policy changes, and people really do appreciate when you're able to explain the details of the initiative. So we've got lots of infographics on the website at legalmo22.com that go more in depth into these. So those are helpful to reference out in the field, to review before you start collecting signatures. It's good to be able to send people the link to these if they have specific questions. We also have an FAQ page on our website, but we'll go into now some of these specific policies and components of our language. So first and foremost, adult use means that anyone 21 and older would be able to purchase, possess, consume, and home cultivate marijuana. It also would implement automatic expungement for Missourians with nonviolent marijuana related offenses. And it's a pretty low retail tax that would come along with our program, 6% retail tax. And the surplus of this tax revenue would be split equally between veterans healthcare, drug addiction treatment, and Missouri's underfunded public defender system. It also maintains a prohibition on public use and driving under the influence. Violent offenders and those whose offenses involved distribution to a minor would be ineligible for expungement. It does allow existing dispensaries in Missouri to quickly convert to serving both patients and adult consumers, reducing illicit market sales. Just one of the significant impacts here is that it will end the tens of thousands of needless cannabis arrests that occur annually in Missouri. Missouri will be the first state in the nation with voter approval of automatic expungement for past cannabis convictions. Among the 19 states to have legalized adult use, just 7 even have automatic expungement. And it is fully funded, so the program taxes pay the costs, not the petitioners themselves. And it creates a strong foundation to pursue further criminal justice, sentencing reform. And just some of the community groups that are actively supporting and backing our initiative include ACLU of Missouri, Empower Missouri, Real Justice Network, several chapters of the NAACP, including those from St. Louis City, County, and St. Charles, Missouri Normal, KC Normal, and MoCan Trade, just to name a few. Now, some of the new patient protections that would be implemented if our initiative is passed into law include expanded caregiver rights. So our initiative would double the number of patients a caregiver can provide for, up to 6, with a maximum of 24 flowering plants among patients. Those on probation and parole would be able to legally medicate. There are also some crucial tenant and employee protections for renters, for employees, for parents and guardians. There would be out-of-state reciprocity for medical card holders from other states to be able to purchase medical marijuana in Missouri. It does expand home cultivation, so anyone 21 and older would be able to home cultivate 18 total plants, 6 plants in each of the 3 stages. So this and many other components of our initiative would make Missouri among the top 3 most liberal states as it relates to home cultivation laws. So one of many things that we're excited about here, as far as impaired driving, the presence of THC metabolites alone is not going to be sufficient enough to prove impairment under DUI laws. The odor of flower or burnt marijuana alone does not constitute reasonable suspicion of a crime. Evidence of marijuana alone cannot be the basis for search, whether patient or non-patient, including home, vehicle, and other property. As far as no-knock cannabis raids, those would be prohibited under the Legal Missouri Initiative. Lawful marijuana-related activities could not be the basis for probation or parole violations or any type of supervised release. And as far as gun rights, those are explicitly protected in constitutional language. Now on to the business and policy specifics. It does allow local opt-out. So if a community does not want to allow adult use retail marijuana sales, they would be able to prohibit it through a vote of the people. The initiative would also add a minimum 144 new cannabis businesses to the existing 389 already licensed. These new licenses would be reserved for historically disadvantaged populations, including those with limited capital, residents of high poverty communities, service disabled veterans, and those previously convicted of nonviolent marijuana offenses. To ensure statewide access, at least 18 of these new businesses will be added in each of the state's 8 congressional districts, and that's to ensure pretty wide distribution across the state and make sure that there's not too heavy of concentration and communities that are lacking access to facilities. And one of the most important things to keep in mind here is that our initiative would be a constitutional amendment, meaning that the legislature would not be able to gut it or unravel it after its passage. Estimated economic impact, we're looking at potentially 40 million in annual sales revenues, 13 million to local governments at a minimum. So this is a very conservative estimate. Existing business license holders would receive the first opportunity to convert to medical cultivation, manufacturing, and dispensary licenses. We would help reduce illicit market sales by converting medical-only facilities to businesses serving both medical patients and adult consumers. There are some additional expansions to the medical program in our initiative, including extending the amount of time patients and caregiver cards would be valid. So they're currently only valid for 1 year, but under the Legal Missouri Initiative, cards would now be valid for 3 years while keeping the cost low at $25 and reducing the current $100 fee for home cultivation to $50 and extending that expiration as well. So at this point in time, we have enrolled over 170,000 patients and caregivers in the state while generating over 200 million in annual sales. And those numbers we expect will continue climbing as people continue to be educated about our existing medical marijuana program. Before I move on, Justice, do you want to talk for just a moment about some of the measures and policy components that you've been hearing people be most excited about, some of the highlights that people will want to talk about at the polls to really give people an insight into how this benefits their communities?
Absolutely. So, people are really excited about the criminal justice components to this measure. Being able to, use cannabis, use marijuana without the fear of being incarcerated, without the fear of going to jail, is really huge. It's a big weight off of people. When we talk about making sure that people are protected while they work, that's in there. You can't be, correct me if I'm wrong, Ryan, but you can't be fired from your job because you use cannabis, because you use marijuana.
That's correct.
And that's really important because even though we have medical right now, there's still this cloud lingering because we don't have that protection right now. And this would allow us to have that protection. Whenever we talk about allowing people, it's very hypocritical for people to now be able to make money off of marijuana while we have people who are still in prison. We have people who are still being impacted because they have a criminal record because of their participation in maybe this illegal business. But we want to implement equity, and that's the really exciting part. That's why Real Justice Network signed up. That's why NAACP. That's why Empower Missouri um, promotes this, because we know how important it is to have some equity embedded in this thing. And then just one more thing that I'm excited about is also the potential for small business um, to open this up for, people to be really innovative in Missouri. My goodness, the things that we can think of and create because of the opportunities that making this legal would allow. And so those are some of the things that people are going to want to hear about. Those are some of the most exciting components to this initiative. And please read up so that you can be able to explain that and to be able to speak intelligently with folks about it, because they are going to want to know, hey, what is that I'm hearing? It's already good enough to legalize it so that it's legal. But my goodness, this initiative has taken this so much further, so much further. So I think that's all I have to say right now, Ryan.
Yeah, thank you for that. All that said, I think we can all agree, looking at these policy components, that this would be the most significant criminal justice reform that Missouri will have ever passed in one fell swoop. So everyone on this call, everyone who, supports, whether it be your first times on Tuesday, or you just help collect the last couple of weeks, you can be proud knowing that you were part of a movement to really reform our criminal justice program in Missouri for the good. Okay, now we're going to get into the nitty gritty, how to fill out the petition correctly. This is going to be maybe a little boring. We're going to be talking about filling out a form, but this is the most crucial to make sure that all of our time and effort is well utilized, because it's very easy to make mistakes. Even I catch myself forgetting to fill out one of these little boxes now and again. So it's good to review every so often and make sure you're putting the data in the correct places. So let's go through it. Keep your eyes out for any questions that you might have. Throw them in the Q&A for us to discuss at the end. But I've got a sample form here that everybody should be able to see. And so it is color coded. So green is the entry fields that you, the petitioner, are going to fill out. And pink is going to be where the signer, the supporter, fills out. And blue is going to be where the notary fills out. So how this looks is you are out and about, you're at an event, you're at a signing table, you're at your business collecting signatures. You ask someone if they want to sign the petition to legalize marijuana in Missouri. They may have questions, they may immediately say yes. If they want to sign, you hand them a pen and you ask them what county they are registered to vote in. Now, it's important to ask them that so you hand them the right petition, because let's say that this petition is the petition for St. Louis County voters. And if they were a St. Louis City voter, they would not be able to sign this form. They would have to sign the St. Louis County form. So we'll go through this in even more detail in these slides. So the reason we emphasize the importance of splitting off the supporters by county is that it is a requirement for how these petitions are tabulated. So it's good at events to keep a few blank petitions on you, maybe a small stack, depending on how long you're going to be out there, because you never really know what county a supporter might be coming from. If you're at a large event, I was at the Oyster Festival in downtown St. Louis. We were getting people from the city, from the county, from Jefferson County, from St. Charles County. And then you get some people who are in from out of town and are from Platte County or from Boone County. So having those extra petitions on hand, so if you get even a single Boone County supporter, you can write the name of that county up here in the top line and then hand them the blank petition and have them start filling out that first signature line with their registered voter information. You're going to leave the page number blank here. So that's why it's in red. You don't need to fill that out at all. The registered address, it's got to be where they are registered to vote. Sometimes people move a lot. I move a lot, but it has to be the address where they're currently registered to vote. If people aren't sure, maybe ask them, well, where did you vote last? Do you remember that address? And it'll be whatever the home address is where they're currently registered to vote that they have to use. It's got to be a residential address. It can't be an office address. Another space that you all are going to leave blank is this congressional district. People sometimes don't know that anyway, but we just ask that you leave that space blank. I do see this sometimes still, people using ditto marks, especially if they've got if they're signing with their roommate, they'll just do little ditto marks. They kind of look like quotation marks to say that, oh, this address is the same as the address above. You cannot use ditto marks. You actually have to write out the full address again. It's tedious, but it is required for those signatures to count. As far as the name, it has to be the full name and signature, the same one that the person uses on official documents like their driver's license. If someone cannot remember if they've signed already, ask them to go ahead and sign again. People cannot knowingly sign the petition multiple times. However, I've been a part of numerous legalization campaigns, and there's people who sign who have signed in 2016 and in 2018 and in 2020, and people will say, oh, I've signed this before, but it's not necessarily from this year. So it can be helpful to ask, okay, well, was it in the past 3 or 4 months, or was it 2 years ago? Usually people will remember if they have signed it in this past cycle. Remember, we've been collecting signatures since October. So there's kind of a 6-month window there that people could have already signed the Legal Missouri petition. Okay, I think that's, yeah, I figured we were missing a slide. So you must sign and date each petition sheet in the presence of a notary public after the signatures on the sheet have been collected. Signatures dated after the notary date can cause the whole page to be deemed invalid. You are attesting that you personally witnessed all of the signatures on the page. So each petition must belong to a specific petitioner. So this is the final step in the process, is getting these petitions notarized, finding a notary. So we do have a lot of notaries who are volunteering for the campaign and who are always at these regular weekly notary events, like the one that I just came from in St. Louis. We have these on Sundays in St. Louis in the afternoons, one in Maplewood, one in St. Charles. So these are always really good places to just reliably able to bring your petitions, meet some of the campaign team, get your petitions notarized. If you're not in an area that is close to KC or St. Louis, we're going to be calling on some notaries in areas like Springfield and Branson and Joplin to become more available on a set day for the next 4 or 5 weeks so that people will be able to turn those in. Otherwise, there are still options to get your petitions notarized if you're in one of the more outlying areas that's not too adjacent to St. Louis or KC. Libraries and banks often offer free notary services. And if you're able to get your petitions notarized with a couple weeks to spare before the deadline, please just mail those in. Reach out to me. My email is ryan@legalmo22. We will figure out how to get your petitions turned into the campaign to make sure that those signatures actually are counted towards our total. So some basic rules for petitioning. You've got to be 18 years of age. Only registered Missouri voters can sign the petition, but you do not have to be a registered voter to collect signatures. You've just got to be 18 years old. But you can tell people if they still want to sign the petition, but they're not registered to vote. We've got a link on our website that they can go to. It takes about 2 weeks to process. newly registered voters, which means that as long as they register by, I'd say probably mid-April, they will probably have enough time to sign the petition in time for it to count. Okay, so signing stations. These are some pictures that we've taken out in the field of our volunteers. So each of these signing stations is absolutely perfect for what we need. They all look very different, but they all have three things in common. And those things are pens, petitions, and a flat surface. That is really all you need to be successful. There's signage and there's stickers and there's lots of things that are helpful and can make you even more successful and can be a fun giveaway. But bare minimum, as long as you have pens, petitions, and a flat surface, whether it be a clipboard or a table. Personally, I even like to use a rectangular piece of cardboard that I cut out, and I stick one petition to each side and rubber band it so that I have a double-sided petition. That way I can have, say, a St. Louis City and a St. Louis County petition all on one board. It's really up to you. It's good to have several black or blue pens on you in case somebody walks off with one or one of them dries out. So just keep all these things in mind. As long as you've got these three items, blank petitions, pens, and a flat surface, you are good to go. Make sure that the petitions you receive are actually from one of our authorized petition hubs. You can't print the petitions off at home and use those for signing. It's got to be black or blue ink. You must personally witness each signature, so you can't hand somebody your board and be like, can you collect signatures for me? I've got to go on break. That petition actually has to belong to you. Only fill in specified information fields. Don't write anywhere on the petition sheet. I've seen this during the campaign a couple times. People writing their initials or just some notes on the petition because there is some blank space, but you cannot do that. You've got to use sticky notes if you want to put like an identifying mark or leave a note on there. Don't use whiteout if there is a mistake. Draw a single line through it, but do not scribble it out, white it out. The election officials want to see the error. So have the signer initial small corrections or start over for bigger mistakes. Even as the petitioner, sometimes I find myself writing my address in the wrong order after I've been filling out a lot of these petitions. So it's fine to make an error on these as long as you just put a single line through it and put your initials and start over. You have the right to collect signatures on public property, such as outside a public library, courthouse, city hall, or public sidewalk surrounding a theater, sports or concert venue, or shopping district. And this on election day will include all of the polling locations. So alert the campaign staff if you need to report any behavior that you feel is harassment. Don't argue with police officers. However, we do actually now have a video on our YouTube channel of an encounter that I had with one of our volunteers and a police officer at the Creve Coeur DMV. It'll give you a little more information on that encounter and some info on how to handle these sort of things, at least in St. Louis County, where we do have court precedent to back up our right to collect signatures at a DMV, even if it is in private property. Again, bring extra petitions. Those are helpful. Sometimes people will want to thumb through them and read the petition, but you can also let them know that it's available on the website. You cannot alter, correct, clarify, or obscure any information that a signer writes. This happens all the time. Sometimes people forget the date or forget to fill out the information, like print their name. For instance, they'll sign, but they won't print. You've got to just leave it as is. You cannot fill out the information for anyone, even if they walk away. So these here are some of the most common reasons for signatures to be deemed invalid. Not a Missouri voter. That happens all the time, especially in St. Louis with lots of Illinois voters. Justice, I think you can probably attest on the KC side, you'll probably get a lot of Kansas people, right? Yeah, so
Definitely. Yep.
they've got to be a registered Missouri voters, but that does not mean that people from out of state cannot be helpful. I'll let you all know some strategies that have been working for me out in the field, meeting Illinois voters who want to sign the petition. They want to help us out. They want to help us get legal in Missouri. So I tell them, go find some Missouri voters for me. Bring them to me. Tell them I'm here with the petition to sign. I give them a couple stickers to hand out. And inevitably, I do get a handful more supporters at events than I otherwise would if I just said thanks, but no thanks to the out-of-state people. So lean into them. Sometimes they've come to the event with Missouri people, and they will bring them over to you. Don't just count them for nothing. They definitely can be of help. And I find that the out-of-state people are sometimes the most enthusiastic of all. So let's put them to work. There are other ways that signatures can be deemed invalid, such as signatures that are dated after the notary date, which again, it's important to do it in the order that I listed on that sample filled out form. Defaced petitions, forgetting to fill out one of the spaces. So again, do a spot check every so often to make sure that when you're getting these notarized, you're filling out all of your portions correctly, you're putting all the county lines in correctly. Okay, now let's get on to the main order of business, which is Election Day on Tuesday, April 5th. This is going to be the biggest signature drive of the entire campaign. We've already got 150 people signed up that have taken the survey. So we are going to have a really good showing on Tuesday. The reason this is such a significant day is because everybody's going to be coming to the polls. It's not necessarily as big as a presidential election, but there are a lot of highly contested elections happening across the state, a lot of hot topic issues, whether it be a school board election or a mayoral race. We have identified all of the regions in the state where we expect that there's going to be a higher than average turnout. We've plotted those polling places out, and anyone who has taken the survey, maybe not in the past day or so, but anybody who's taken the survey up until probably Saturday has been assigned a polling location in one of these high traffic areas. So they're going to be bringing in lots of people to the polls. So all of the people coming to the polls will be registered to vote, and they'll be registered to vote in the same county. So it saves a lot of effort, especially for new-time volunteers. You really don't have to worry about having multiple counties and having people sign different petitions. For the most part, people are going to be, if you're stationed in St. Louis County at a St. Louis County polling location, you're really only going to be getting signatures from St. Louis County people. So all the better. It makes for an easier collection day, and they tend to be the most valid signatures because everybody who is signing the petition is already registered to vote. So they're coming out, they're politically engaged, they're informed to some degree about the issues. So people tend to hear you out a little bit more and be a little bit more conversational. So this is really going to be a prime opportunity all across the state. So before Tuesday, make sure that you have saved in your phone and have confirmed where you've been assigned to collect signatures. If you haven't been assigned a polling location at this time, please stay on after the call. Either the email's gone to spam, or you maybe took the survey this afternoon and I have not had time to assign you to a spot yet. However, I will assign the most recent batch of registrants tonight, and I'll send that out along with the YouTube video and the presentation to everybody. Again, if you haven't taken the survey, please do. We are only assigning people to high turnout polling locations in congressional districts 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7, not 4 and 8. For some of the reasons that I mentioned earlier in the presentation, we are concentrating our efforts into getting our signature threshold reached in these 6 congressional districts: 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, and 7. And so we are only sending people to polling locations that are located in these regions. For the most part, the people that have signed up to help are already located in these regions. I have had a few people who would prefer to be in a county that is in, say, District 4 or District 8. When I make these assignments, I take all of your considerations in mind, including your home address. So I try to route you to a polling location that is as close as humanly possible to your home address, while also being in one of our high turnout elections in one of our target congressional districts. So if you have questions about where your polling place is, again, please stay on and we will work through it at the end. Checklist for Tuesday: complete the training. If you're here on this call, you are almost done with the training, so check that off your list. Check the weather forecast. I have been checking the weather every day because at least on the St. Louis side, it looks like we may get some rain. It's going to be a pretty nice temperature all across the state. I think last time I checked, the Kansas City area was looking pretty dry, so that's good news for you guys over there. But prepare for the rain. A lot of these buildings where the polling is going to be going on will have awnings, but it's important that you stay 25 feet from the door, from the entry point of the polling location. That is a hard and fast rule that we have to comply with in order to be within our rights to collect signatures at a polling place. But as long as you're 25 feet or more from the door, you are good. Now, if it's raining, it's going to be ideal to have a building where you can be 25 feet from the door and also under an awning. So keep your eye on the weather. Please bring an umbrella with you just to be safe. Bring a rain jacket. Do bring like a plastic bag to protect the petitions in the event that it does start drizzling. You know, it might be possible that the rain is light and you can, if you're with a partner or even if you're by yourself, you can hold an umbrella in one hand and hold a petition and a pen in the other. Kind of up to you, but at a certain point, if the ink starts running, we really don't want the petitions and existing signatures to be damaged. So plan for the rain. If it turns out that it's raining a little bit too hard and there's not an awning, reach out to me. We'll find you a location with an awning. We'll figure out a solution to best be able to collect signatures if there is inclement weather in the area where you are collecting signatures. As always, bring pens with you, bring your clipboards, or like I said, that cutout piece of cardboard with rubber bands. Reach out to me with any questions. I'm putting here the election day hotline as well. This is the number that you can reach out to if there are any issues related to the polling place itself that need to be reported, such as the polling place telling you that you can't be there collecting signatures. Obviously, everybody will want to be reaching out to me, emailing me, texting me, calling me. I will be running dispatch all day, so I will be fully available to make sure that people can be coordinated and be slotted into a new signing location. If a high traffic place needs to be covered, I'll be available to get all of those questions answered on the day. And then confirm the closest petition pickup location and get blank petitions. So the most important thing to get for the day are your petitions. If you don't have them already, we have a lot of locations where you can pick them up on Tuesday. And some of the locations I think will even have petitions and t-shirts available on Monday. But everywhere will certainly be supplied with petitions on Tuesday. So these are the locations all across the state where you can get both t-shirts and blank petitions on Tuesday. And these are their operating hours, so you can go by at any time to get your petitions and t-shirt. A good general rule for the day is get 3 blank petitions for every hour that you're going to be out there collecting signatures. I would say on a really good day, I can get somewhere between 15 and 25 signatures in an hour. So just plan for 3 for every hour just to be safe. So if you're petitioning for 3 hours, bring 9 petitions. If you're petitioning all day, get yourself a nice small stack. But these locations, like I said, I picked them because they've got pretty decent highway access. They are pretty close to where all of these high traffic, high turnout elections are. So if you have any questions or you think there's going to be any difficulty getting your petitions in time, please let me know. If you want to get them earlier than the day of Tuesday, for instance, if you're working very early at the polls and one of these businesses doesn't open until say 9 or 10, you can still get your petitions from a few of our petition hubs across the state. We've got, I think, 8 or 9 at this point in time. We've got a few in KC. We've got a few in St. Louis. We've got one in Springfield. We've got one in Joplin. So check out our website on the training section. The petitioner instructions is where we have our petition hubs located. You can go to those tomorrow if you're concerned about getting your petitions in time. But the t-shirts, like I said, those will all be available tomorrow at all of these addresses. If you're in the city of St. Louis and you want to pick up petitions or a t-shirt on the day of, let me know, and I can meet up with you on Russell and Grand, just to give you a sense of where we can meet up. So we've got lots of opportunities to pick up your supplies in the nick of time. I know it's getting to be close to Tuesday, but if you have questions about these locations, please let me know. So after events are also going to be a real hit for this event because we've got a lot of volunteers heavily concentrated in the St. Louis and KC metro areas. We've identified a location in St. Louis that's going to be pretty central for everyone, which is Westport Social in Maryland Heights. It's like right at 270 and 364. So we'll be meeting there immediately after polls close. So from about 7 to 9, we'll have several notaries there who can help notarize petitions. That way, you know, your petitions that you collected on election day will be automatically counted and turned in, and you don't have to worry about doing it. We'll have food and drinks there for everybody. So bring your petitions and prepare to meet the rest of our volunteer team. And Justice, do you want to talk a little bit about the after event at Parlor in KC?
Yes, I do. So for folks in KC, everything that Ryan said, that pertains to myself and my right hand, Danny. So if you need help with anything, please reach out to us and we'll make sure that you have all of the information to contact us. But yes, after putting in a long day on Tuesday, we want to come together, bring you all together to, number one, say thank you. We will have folks there to notarize your petitions. We're going to have a drink tab. We'll have a food tab. You'll be able to get something to eat and drink and to socialize with each other a little bit. It's our way of saying thank you for spending the time with us to put in gathering more signatures. So yes, Ryan, we want to make sure that folks have my information as well, so that we got 2 point people in Kansas City, myself, Justice, and Danielle. So we're going to have a good time on Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. And I will go ahead and put your email here in the chat for people if they have questions on the KC side. And I will put my email in as well as my cell that people can feel free to save and use the day of. Or if you have questions leading up to the event, please don't hesitate to reach out. I want to make sure that everybody is prepared and has their questions answered in time to be comfortable ahead of these elections. Okay, putting that in the chat for you guys. That is my cell. So that is it for the presentation, guys. Let's get started We're going to do questions now. So if you are a person who is feeling very prepared, you've got all your questions answered, you know where your polling location is, you know who your point of contact is, you know where you're going to go to get your blank petitions if you don't already have them, then you're free to go. I will upload this video to our Legal Missouri 2022 YouTube channel later this evening. We'll get that shared out on our Facebook. If you want to review this, I'll send everyone here on the call a PDF of the presentation slides. So you guys are good to go. Feel free to reach out and stay in touch on the day of the event. Please share your campaign pictures. Please join our volunteer Facebook group. You can search for us at Legal Missouri 2022 volunteer group on Facebook. We would love to have you. Aside from that, I'm going to end the screen share and start going through some of these questions that people have. Okay. One of our participants said they like turtles. I also like turtles. Let's see, Megan asked, the state of Missouri says I need to state that I am a paid person to gather signatures. Do I have to tell every single person or just have a little sign? So actually, neither of those. That's a good question though. Let me go back to the presentation and I can show you exactly where you need to note this. Okay. So this is where you will check if you expect to be paid. So this is the way of letting the state know that you are being paid to collect signatures. You would check the box here, not the box that is currently checked. You would check, I do expect to be paid for circulating this petition. So this is if you're being directly paid by a company to collect signatures. So if you are being paid, you would then list the entity that is paying you here. So Megan, let me know if that makes sense to you in the chat. Let's see. Oh, and it looks like Dan already answered that question. Thank you for that, Dan. Let's see here. Let's see, Kim wants to clarify, you must be 25 feet from the door, but can you set up a table in the parking lot? My polling place is a church where most people drive to vote. So I think yes, and Justice, I'll get your opinion on this, but I think it's perfectly fine and probably helpful for people to bring a folding table. As far as in the parking lot, I think it's okay as long as it's in a safe area. I don't want anybody setting up a table that is where oncoming traffic is going to be. But I think having a table, as long as it's 25 feet from the door, you've got a comfy chair, you can lay the petitions out. I think that's okay, right, Justice?
That is absolutely okay. And please do that if you can. You want to be as comfortable as you can out there. You don't want to have to just stand up if you don't have to. And I've done this a ton of times. So yes, just make sure you're the 25 feet away from the entrance. Make sure it's a safe place. You're not blocking any traffic moving in and out. You can usually find a pretty good spot to do that at. Absolutely do that. Yep.
Perfect. Someone asked if it is helpful to bring a pop-up in case of rain. Absolutely. I think that's, if you happen to have a pop-up, by all means, please. If somebody else asked the same question. No, Justice, I think a pop-up's perfectly acceptable too. I love the enthusiasm.
Absolutely. I ride around with a pop-up because I never know. Organizers are always prepared. There's always something in there. So yes, those of you who are thinking like that, and also if you're you might want to bring some type of rain gear if you are going to be out. We don't quite know what the weather will do. We're in Kansas City, us on this end. We're all in Missouri. We know how our weather is.
Right.
So let's be prepared for anything. And in the case of rain, the thing that I am concerned about the most is making sure that we protect the petitions. We don't want them to get wet up. We don't want the ink to blur. We don't want any reason for the Secretary of the State to toss our petitions out.
Right.
So protect the petitions at all costs. And also, I don't know if we've talked about this very much, but make sure you cover those petitions when you're
Mhm.
taking photos. You're having fun taking photos. Do not take photos of signed petitions. You can hold up blank ones, but just be very careful about that. We don't want that getting out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want people's identifying information to be out there. And in case of sharing the photos, I always, if there are signatures on there and I post it, I always try and cover it with like a block or a sticker or something like that. And Jesse, I see your question. Give me just a second. I will come right back to that because Paula brought up a good point that I meant to mention, which is asking people who are exiting the polls and prioritizing those people versus those people who are coming in to enter. I think that's a great point for everybody to keep in mind. It may be best to set up at the exit of the polling places because sometimes people are in a rush. They're taking their lunch break or they have limited time to get to work and they're like, oh, what if there's a line? I don't have time to talk to anybody, can't be bothered right now. Very focused on voting, which is understandable. But if once they've voted, they know how much time they have left to get to where they need to be, usually is a more effective measure to actually get people on their way out. So if you can identify where the exit is, that may be the best place to collect signatures. So you can maybe play with it. If you're not getting good traction at the exits, maybe try the entrance. But yes, Paula, that's great advice. Jesse, so we're starting to get to a couple people who have questions about specific locations. So Jesse said that they filled out the form and they haven't been assigned a signing location. So let me pull up that form to make sure. Someone else just, yeah, that was answered already. Okay, Jesse, let's see. Okay, Jesse, here, I see you.
And Ryan, I don't want you to, I don't know if you saw the question from Dan. I think that's a pretty good question. He asked, can the petitioner fill out everything except the actual signature for the signer?
So yes and no. There are instances where the supporter might have a visual impairment or might have a disability that prevents them from being able to sign to fill out the information legibly. In that instance, yes, the petitioner can fill out the name, all of the voter info for the person, as long as they make a marking on the petition with a pen that will be accepted. So we have had instances where that has been necessary. So Jesse, looking here at the responses, is your first name Levi? That is the name that I got, but I think I know why this is, because the person who I think has your email signed up for Mystic Fair in the county line. So I had actually been meaning to get in touch with you and see if you were wanting to petition at the Mystic Fair only, or if you were actually wanting to petition at the polls. So I assume now that you would like to petition at the polls. And it looks like you are in KC. Yeah, so I will, right after this call, I will get you to a location that is pretty close to where you are. Let me just pull up a map here so I can give you a sense of where I'm going to be sending you. Okay, so it looks like you are in Overland Park area. There are quite a few high turnout elections that we're expecting in the Independence and Raytown areas, school districts. Do you have a preference for either of those? Yeah, just let me know there in the chat, and I will make sure to get you that assignment. Someone else asked, let's see, Sheridan, how long do we think the notary after party will go? Currently, I'm telling people 7 to 9. I think 2 hours is probably a fair amount of time to get people in from the various regions. We'll have a fair amount of notaries. So I think 2 hours is a good amount of time to block off. If it looks like we've still got people trickling in, we'll extend it for sure. I have no problem staying later. Westport Social is open pretty late on even on Tuesdays until at least 11. So we'll be covered on time. And Justice, I think you guys have the space booked in KC from 5 to 10 p.m. So plenty of time after the polls close to meet up for the event. Let's see. Okay, so Kathy asked a question that I do want to address. I'm in Jefferson County. Should I just go to my polling place? So Jefferson County is actually split between Congressional District 2 and Congressional District 8. So, or it's either 1 and 8 or 2 and 8. Either way, Jefferson County is split. So we're going to want to make sure that you go somewhere kind of on the northern side of Jefferson County. Would you mind telling me, Kathy, if did you take that survey already? If so, I can plug in your address and get you a space in Jeffco that is in our target district. Let's see. Yeah, I think I see you here. Last name Mastrolia. Okay, Jesse, I see your request for Raytown. I will mark that for you. Well, Catherine, or sorry, Kathy, Imperial, perfect. Imperial, I think Imperial should work. Kathy, I will, let's see. Okay. Yeah, Kathy, I will send you an email as well after this and just confirm the polling location, but it looks like Imperial will be just great. Actually, if you know your polling place off the top of your head, if you wouldn't mind just throwing that in the chat, and I will mark that for you. Okay, and Shaston, yes, I see your response here. I've actually been meaning to get in touch with you because I saw that you didn't have a reliable form of transportation. However, we do now have someone who's able to help carpool in the KC area. Actually, Justice already mentioned Danny. Danny's been super, super helpful. She's going to be working the polls all day. I think I have her in the Lee Summit School District, so she'll be in the Independence area. I think you actually work with Danny. So after this Zoom, I'm going to make a note here to connect you with Danny so you guys can work out a ride situation, and I can get you to a polling location that's pretty convenient for both of you. Oh, it looks like Danny's here on the call. Perfect.
Danny's on it. Thank you.
Fabulous.
Danny.
Okay, then I will let you two coordinate on that. Just let me know what location, if you guys are going to prefer to pair up, or if you want me to send Shaston to a secondary location. We've got plenty of over 1,000 polling locations in the state. There's no shortage. Let's see. It looks like I think that might be the end of our questions. If anybody on the call still has more questions, let's see. Please put them in the chat. I'm going to review all of these answers just to make sure I didn't miss anyone. So if there's anything final that people have questions on, do drop me a little message. Oh, Carlos, let's see. Let me look and see what your location is. Go to the survey results. Okay. Franklin County, perfect. We definitely have some locations here. Okay, Carlos, looks like I've got you booked for the Washington Public Library in Washington. Does that sound like a pretty good location for you in terms of where you're located? Excellent. Well, when people answered the surveys and they checked off all of the times that they were willing to be available, I just slotted people in for all of those times. So if anybody has an adjustment, you don't want to work all 13 hours, I completely understand. Carlos, I think I did put you down 6 a.m. to 7 p.m., which if you are willing to work the polls for that long, we greatly appreciate it. But also, if you're going to work all day, I do recommend that people take breaks, feel comfortable, going back home for a while, take a nap, get lunch. That's why I tried and slotted people into places that are pretty convenient to where you live. But if anybody has a request to change a polling location or adjust their time, just let me know. Oh, Desmond. Hey, Desmond. I do think I slotted you in somewhere. You might have filled out the survey pretty recently. It's possible I did not include you in that last blast. So I've got you here at the Keys Christian Fellowship in St. Joseph from 3 to 7 p.m. Does that work out pretty well for you? Perfect. Yes, I am excited as well. It's going to be a good day. Okay, Kathy, do you need me to work more than one shift? We need everybody. We need all hands on deck. So if you're willing and you've got some time on your hands and you're willing to work more than a shift, we'd love to have you. We'd love to have everybody at the polls as long as we can. I won't ask anybody to overextend themselves, but if you have availability and you're willing to help out for more than 3 hours, let me know. Let me know the exact timeframes that you would like to work, and I will mark you down for it. Okay, give people just, I know we're running a little bit past 8, which is fine by me. I know people had lots of good questions. I'm glad we could all get on the same page. I guess one of the important things for everybody who's still left on the call, and I'll include this in my follow-up email, please bring a comfy chair. Get your hands on a good folding lawn chair, like one of those chairs you'd bring to watch a sibling play soccer or something, because it'll be good to stand for a little bit, but if you're there for a few hours, people will probably want to sit for a while. So throw that chair in the back of your car now, or go pick it up from your aunt so you have that all ready for the day. Is there anything else, Justice, we should cover while we've got everybody here? Anything else to keep in mind for the day?
Bring yourself some snacks.
Snacks, yeah.
Think about what you need to take care of yourself. It might be different for everybody. So if you take medications, anything like that, just think ahead about all of that. Prepare anything that you might need to do to take care of at home. If you've got children, if you've got pets, anything like that. You just don't want anything to, take you from the time that you're out there collecting signatures. However, life is what it is. And should something happen, please let Ryan know, let myself know. If you need help, whatever, we're in it together for the day. And so just communicate, and we will definitely be communicating back with you. Ask any question. You're not bothering us. Make sure you get clarity. If you don't understand, if you don't know, if you are unsure, do not be afraid to reach out and let us know. We want you to understand and to be sure. That's what I can think of. It's always fun to team up, to have somebody that you can be with. So team up, and hey, it's not too late to recruit a person or two to bring out there with you. So think of a friend, make it fun for yourself. I always make it fun for myself. I decorate my little table, I put candy on it. Think about anything that you might want to do to make somebody say, hey, what are they doing over there? I want to find out what's happening at their table. And remember, even though you're working, you're really doing something that's so important for the state. Ryan couldn't have said it enough. This would be huge for Missouri on so many levels. So yes, such important work. I think that's all. Just remember, think about yourself for the day and what you might need, and we're here.
And
Take
Sheridan
my
did ask.
number, save it in your phone
Mm-hmm.
right now. You can even shoot me a little text and say, hey, Justice, this is such and such. I'm going to save your number in my phone. Yeah, y'all, let's do it. Let's do it big for Missouri. Let's have a really proud moment here. Yeah.
Last question from Sheridan. Bathroom situation at the polling places. Remind us, Justice, are we able to use the facilities?
You know what? Let's get clarity on that.
Okay.
There's a lot that has changed with COVID too. Let's see if we can find something out. And then we can put that out in an email.
Yeah, I'm going to be sending out a couple emails ahead.
We'll be sending that out, and so we can give an update about that. I just don't want to give any misinformation right now, and things have been different, you all. So I don't want to put out anything confusing.
Yeah, but if in doubt, it's at the very least right now, just know that you can feel comfortable, put the materials in your car, and then go ask one of the polling location officials, hey, can I use the restroom? I'm out here petitioning. My first instinct is to say that 9 times out of 10 people will be accommodating, but I don't want to say for sure. We'll get an answer for everybody on this and make sure to include it in the follow-up.